welcome to the Leader Equation. This is number 29 of the Leader Equation. So fun. And today I have two of my favorite guests ever. We've got Noah Ostroff and Jeremy Bowers of KW Philly and so many other businesses, which we'll talk about. They are serial entrepreneurs, just building businesses left and right. And I get to be a part of what they're building as well in Philly, which is super fun for me to watch. So I've been able to watch their leadership and see how they act together. And that's why we knew that we had to get them on here. And so we're excited about this. If you don't know me, I'm Linzee Soprani. I'm the CEO of Soprani Consulting. We are the top recruiting and consulting firm in the country for all things real estate. I'm also here with my co-host, Christy Belt-Grossman, who is the CEO of Ops Boss Coaching, the ultimate resource for training and coaching for real estate ops bosses. Welcome to the Leader Equation. So Jeremy and Noah, really quickly, how long have you guys actually been working together? Just give us the year there, and then I'm going to have Christy take us into the questions.
2 years as of probably somewhere in July coming up, almost 2 years.
Crazy. Awesome. Good. Well, let's do introductions. Noah, tell us who you are, kind of maybe give me an idea of, I know you have multiple businesses, how many people you lead in each of those areas, since this is a Leader Equation.
Yeah, so if we're talking about people, we have a brokerage, KW Philly, with about 375 people. We just acquired another brokerage, KW Mainline, where I think there's about 150 people there now. I have a sales team called Philly Living, where we have about 35 people, and then multiple other, mostly real estate related businesses as well, where there's a number of other people at those businesses too.
Awesome. So that's over 500 in case you didn't count it up. Us detail-oriented people notice things like that. Jeremy, tell us about you and maybe your background prior to getting into business with Noah.
Yeah, well, probably you've never had anybody from Punxsutawney on your show. I am from Punxsutawney today.
That's the best part of
people's business, because I can predict anything. So went to Penn State. Ironically, Noah went to Penn State. We didn't know each other then. We met each other at Coldwell Banker. I've been with KW Philly now for 2 years. Noah and I are business partners in multiple businesses, and same numbers like he was saying. I don't need to repeat those same numbers. Pretty similar to except
you get a lot of people in your radius. So before we get into the real questions, let's do the superpower. Who wants to tell me what the other person's superpower is?
I'll go first. So Noah's very good at diving deep in holes and not digging 3 holes at once. And what I tell people is, if you look at rabbits or certain animals, they dig a little quick small hole and then they move around and then they dig another hole and move around. He tends to dig holes deep. And I like the example at the beach. The deeper the sand, you dig a hole at the sand in the beach, the harder it gets, right? And most people give up when that sand gets hard, but there's probably something underneath there, like some type of treasure. And what I think he does very well is I think he's able to dig holes deep, kind of have that tunnel vision, kind of block some certain things out to have a long-term vision for people. Sometimes people can see it, sometimes they can't, but he sees it. I think he does it. I think he does a really good job with it. That would be mine for Noah.
I love that. That's actually a really surprising one for an entrepreneur, because usually we're all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. All right, Noah, what's Jeremy's superpower?
I was going to say he can fly, but
I mean, that's true too.
You got serious with
I
mine.
didn't know groundhogs could fly.
Well, he got serious with mine. I thought this was going to be like a fun one, but man, now I have to get serious about this thing. So Jeremy's good at a lot of things, but one thing that I would say that probably people don't know about him that I can see from working with him every day that I would consider like a superpower is he reads situations very well, and he can read people very well and kind of extract how people are feeling and how to kind of tailor conversations to fit with people. He's very perceptive in that way. And another thing, he's very good at diffusing situations. I think that comes from all the fights he's broken up over his life, and he's very good at taking that ability to diffuse situations and breaking up, not necessarily physical fights, but confrontation and dealing with confrontation very well.
That's awesome. And I skipped one of our important questions, which is how many streams of income do each of you have?
Like 50.
Jeremy.
Over
ahead,
half,
Jeremy, you go
over half
first.
dozen different streams of income probably
Okay.
at this point.
Noah?
Yeah, I have about 10.
Okay, awesome. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we are chatting with owners, founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and their leaders inside real estate and beyond. What adds to the leadership formula, what subtracts, what divides, and most importantly, what multiplies your success. And I'm going to throw it back to Lindsay so we can actually dive into the real conversation. Thanks for giving us a great overview, you guys.
Yes. So how did you guys come together as leaders? What did that look like?
It all started out in an arm wrestling competition back in 2000 and something. There's some differences as to who won, who cheated. So we'll leave it at that. But let's just say he's stronger than he looks.
I can see that.
So we met back when we were at Coldwell Banker. I don't remember the year, but I started in 2008. So it was probably somewhere between 2008 and 2014 that we met. And Jeremy had a sales team at the time, and I was like, I probably did as well. And I was new in the business, and I was heavily operating as a real estate agent as opposed to like a team leader. And so was Jeremy. And the big thing that we were doing back then is we were prospecting, we were on the phone, we were just out there doing business development and lead generation. And I think I don't remember exactly how we met, but I remember one of the earlier meetings that we had, and we were in Devon Wayne or somewhere around there in the Coldwell Banker had like a success center back then. And we were there prospecting kind of back to back in a small room. And, he was giving me tips on what to say on the phone, and we were just calling and we were writing down how many contacts and how many appointments we made. And that was kind of like our first real interaction with each other, where we sort of got to know each other, and he was hustling and I was hustling too. And we just became friends over time. We started talking to each other and, masterminding, if you will, before masterminding was a thing or even really a term. And when I left Coldwell Banker, came to Keller Williams, we stayed friends, and we went out to lunch together. We still talked about a lot of different things, just like in the business and how the business was going. I had a lot of business conversations. And later down the road, things progressed, and we eventually became business partners a couple years ago, and it's been a long couple of years. Just kidding.
There's some Noah sense of humor.
Good. No, it's been good.
Lots of learning. I think that's a common thing, Lindsay, that we've seen in the podcast is the bigger your business, the more businesses you have, the more partnerships you have together, the longer you've known each other before you get into business together.
Yeah. And Jeremy, how did you, was it like as soon as Noah broached that subject, was it, yeah, I want to go into business with you, or did it take you a while?
Hell no.
Not even close.
No. I'm gonna figure out everything about a person before I go into business with them. So a thing I would say that one of the best things I've ever done in my life, now that most times when people look at one person, I see that there's always someone behind the curtain. And I tell people, one person is not who you're seeing. There's other people you don't see. And one of my favorite lines to today is what Mike McCann says a lot: 1 + 1 is 3. So in this case, I wanted to know when Noah and I started buying some houses together, and we started talking about this later on, I want to know, Noah, from a business perspective, everybody gets to see. I want to see that person in their personal life. So for me, what my wife wanted to do is I wanted to see how he treated his wife. I wanted to see how his wife's relationship was with him. I wanted to see how he treated his kids. I want to see if he was present with his kids. I want to see if his kids listened to him. I want to see what type of role model he is, because I believe if whatever you're at home, you could be in the business world, but I got to find out what you got going at home, because if you just work all the time and your home life is a mess, I don't want to be partners with you. Because to me, personal life is more important than business life. Business is a byproduct. My personal life's why we're all on this, earth. So we had to go to dinner. I didn't always do this, but my wife wanted to meet him. And if anybody knows my wife, she's a pistol. She, you don't want to mess with her. She's been very, very successful over the years. She is, she's aggressive. Anyways, we went to dinner and I met his wife. Great dinner, great conversation. Probably helped that she would like tennis. But I got him to see around his kids, and I saw like, this guy's amazing. Like, he's a business guy, but then he's a good dad. he's a good husband, like he's present, you know what I mean? He's not always working. He's someone I want to hang out with and be in business with, right? And I think when you guys look at partnerships, most human beings don't understand that the partnership's not in the business life, it's also in the personal life. And I'll hear these partnerships break up, and a lot of times it's the back end, right?
Yeah.
So for him and me, after we did that and we kept talking and kept talking, I always have to determine, is his why attached to my why is the second thing I look at. So what do you want? How you get there? What's your why? If I can make my why on a journey with his, I'm okay doing business with a person. If I'm not, I'll just go do my own thing. I'll go back, build a team again. I'll go buy more houses. Like I'll do something else. So those two things aligned with me. I already knew about the company. I knew the company was successful. I knew he's successful. But those two things were the differences I looked at.
Right. Yeah, and that dinner was important because, for me, I needed to see, was this guy going to offer to pay for dinner? And he did, and that's how I knew it was the right fit.
It was a good dinner. By the way, Tony Manning. It's one of my favorite restaurants.
Yeah, it was good. That was good.
I'm just curious, of course, on the female side, how much input did each of your wives have after that dinner?
If my wife said no, I would not do the deal. Because my wife's been too right too many times. I bought a shore house. It was a bad investment. I've been married for 20 years, 22 years together with her. And one of the things I learned is do not tell me later that you thought it was a bad deal. I want you to tell me now. So after we left, I said, what do you think? And she's like, yeah, I can see you two gelling together. I can see your strengths, your weaknesses. I can see his relationship, they're great. And she gave me a thumbs up. I don't know what his wife said, but
Yeah, you don't want to know.
Say,
it doesn't matter, but
somebody's already asking, what are your big whys? Are you willing to, kind of go there and say, hey, this is what we're doing this for? Because I think that does matter. And I love that you guys just brought all of this up.
Yeah. So mine's pretty simple. For me, it's about freedom, financial freedom to be able to make the choices that I want in life, to be able to, we say, like, I know it's cliche, but have that life by design. And that rings true for me because I really like to travel. I like to explore the world. Like I like to do adventurous things. Those are the things that make me happy. Mm-hmm. The work aspect of things, the multiple streams of income, that is the catalyst for me to be able to go and do those things. So, not just with me, but like for me, for my family, for my friends, to be able to do those things and have experiences with the people that I want to spend time with. That's what it's all about for me.
What about you, Jeremy?
Very similar. Like mine's not trading time for money. I want to have enough passive income to pay for my life. I've made some good decisions that when I've made some moves that made sense or haven't. If I didn't have that passive income, I couldn't do those moves. I don't want anybody ever to have I don't want anybody ever own me. You know what I mean? Like I don't ever be in that position. I don't ever own anybody else. Every time anybody works with me, I want to figure out how to build a life by design for them. I don't want to ever own anybody. Vice versa. So for me, it's building the passive income through businesses, through real estate, through things like that. I love to play tennis. I love to be with my family. My ultimate dream is to be up on stage with my daughter. My ultimate dream is to bring my daughter into real estate. I'd love to call my daughter my boss. Those are like my ultimate dreams. I have dollar goal dreams, but it's different now. I used to have $1 per year. Now it's more just passive income. I bought the stupid stuff. Like I don't know if Noah has, but we both have jacked up Jeeps. That's cool with us. I bought the stupid sports car with the loud exhaust system and thought it was cool. I bought a house one time to tell my parents to think that they were proud of me, and I realized that no one gave a crap about going to this house. And then Hurricane Sandy came and crushed it. But I just have learned over the first 20 years of entrepreneurship, I have a pretty good grip now. It's just like Noah. Noah's trying to push me to travel. He's a good traveler. I'm not that good. I'm getting better. He's, so just same thing, life by design, and, have my life be paid by my investments. Right. And see how many people I can impact. Another ultimate dream is fill Wells Fargo Stadium. I want, me and a couple guys have talked about it before, how many people can you impact? Can you impact 1 million people? What platform can you put in? It's my favorite reason why I like being at Keller. I think it's a large platform. So it's, it's about impact, and then, me and my family doing what we want when we want, down the road. So
how do you look back and measure the impact you're having? Are you always moving forward, or do you ever look and say, here's where I am and here's where I am on the way to the end goal? Because that sounds, I'm just asking because a lot of people are like, it sounds really great. I want to impact a lot of people. What does that mean for you? How do you measure that? For example, we had someone on the show earlier who says, I measure it on my team by how many people on my team own investment properties, how many people on my team own their own property. Like, and I know you're thinking bigger than that, but what does that look like for you, impacting people?
I think humans, like Noah doesn't have to be hard on me. I don't need to be hard on him. Like, we're already hard enough on ourselves. I don't ever need a person to be like motivating me and saying I'm probably too hard on myself. So for me, it's like, can I bring on our 350 people a year, right? So I do it 10 years, it's 3,500 people. Can I impact the people who are with us now, right, and grow their business? So how many thousands of people can I impact at the Keller, and can that impact on a larger scale is really from a people perspective. From a house perspective, I have X amount of houses per year I have to buy, and I've figured out how much passive income I need. I'm on track. I'm behind the 8 ball because I flipped too many properties for years. Now I'm holding it. So passive income, how often do I look at it? I was about once a quarter. I'm definitely looking at it. Recently this year during coronavirus, I've been trying to look at it once a month. I don't know how often Noah looks at it, but I do think Noah would give me a critique being my partner. Sometimes I'm too hard on myself, and I try to, overanalyze it, overbuild it, overthink it. You know what I mean? If he would give me some critiquing, would be that. I think he's actually better at not overanalyzing, believing it, staying in the past, staying in the lane. And sometimes that might come off a different way to different people, but it's staying slower, steadier. So that's pretty much what I do.
See, I told you he's perceptive. He's good like that.
That's what the good thing is about partners, is if you can really learn from a partner. They say the 5 people you hang out with is who you'll become. My passive income has drastically changed in my life. I hung out with a lot of people that did really well in vertical income, but then what do? You hang out in the vertical income game. But if you hang out with people who focus on traveling, focus on being with their family, and focus on impact and passive income, those 4 things, you just ironically become a better person because of it. Your health becomes better. You pay attention to your kids. Like, I literally had Mike McCann. Now, this guy works a lot, but he literally said yesterday, no, this one guy, he's like, listen, put your dang phone down. Like, he goes, I work a lot, but when you're home, you're home. Put your dang phone down. And it's just good. Like, sometimes you're like working too much, but if I don't keep on hearing that, like Noah will say to me, yo, Jared, when's your next chip? I don't have one, or I'll book one, but if I hang out with them, I'd probably do the same thing all the time. So.
Yeah, like to kind of, I'll give my quick answer to the question, but I'll give it in a different way. But you asked the question about how do you know whether you're moving forward or moving backwards, and I interpreted that as like towards my goals. For me, when I put together my goals at the beginning of the year, they're never financial, never, not anymore, at least. Right now, it's, for me, I told you, it's about having experiences with family and friends, finding ways to make, manufacturing reasons to make myself happy. And what I do is every month, every month of the year, 12 months of the year, and I say, what experience am I going to have? Some of them are by myself. I went to Nashville by myself last year because I wanted to go there. I went there for a couple nights and just kind of explored Nashville by myself. Some of them are with family, some of them are with friends. And I realized that people like to do stuff, but people don't like to plan stuff. So I said, all right, well, if I like to have experiences and I want to do these things, it's going to fall on me to like plan these things and do these. So I put something in my calendar every single month, some experience. Maybe it's a trip somewhere. Maybe it's, I've had for the last couple of years, go to a Penn State football game with the family, but that one seems to constantly get pushed off. But, just things like that, go travel. I've been doing a lot of like obstacle course races the last couple of years. So I'll put a Spartan race in the calendar, usually like, 6 or 7 of those, or a Go Ruck or a Tough Mudder, or like, a race, something like that. Just like having fun experiences that make me happy. And most of those are non-work related. And that's really how I set my goals, really. They're not really, and I set work goals too, don't get me wrong. But like when I'm really setting goals, that's how I'm doing it.
Well, the work goal isn't the goal. The work, what you do at work is what facilitates the goal, right? You can't go have the experiences without earning the income and making the money and impacting the people, but that's not the end goal. Yeah, yep. Love it.
So talk to us about, how you guys have seen each other grow as leaders, because it's been 2 years now, but even before that, you knew each other before that. So, how have you grown?
Yeah. I'll give my commentary on Jeremy. One of the reasons why we decided to get into business together was because we're both big thinkers. We realized, like Jeremy said, 1 + 1 = 3. We knew that both of us could do this on our own, but together we would do it so much bigger. And we both recognized that. So once we finally figured out the way to make it work, for me, the business that the main business we're in together, which is the brokerage, to me is very simple. It's about growth, just like most businesses. But I know that's kind of like on an operations side, it may not be the first thing, but it's about growth for us. And that comes from growing your current people that are with you and helping them become more productive or more professional or make more money or whatever it means to grow them professionally. But also bringing in more people to the brokerage so you have the opportunity, like Jeremy said, to impact more people and to grow the brokerage. And I knew he was good at that. He's definitely a growth guy, just like me. So that's always how I focus on all my businesses, which I guess to the detriment of the operations side of the business, we could probably talk about that a little bit, but
well, if you don't grow, you don't need operations. So you got to start with growth.
Yeah. So we focus on growth, and I've always focused on growth. So when Jeremy came in, he came in after we were in business open for maybe 2 years. We mainly focused on growth. And he came in, he's like, man, there's a lot of problems with operations here. And there was, and there still is. And he came in and tried to fix those or try to get into those buckets of fixing those. And he's a growth guy, right? He's not an operations guy, even though just like me, like we could probably go figure that out, but like we're always being pulled into the growth side, into the recruiting side, into like that stuff. It's very difficult for like one person to do both of them super effectively. So I saw in the beginning, he was very trying to get into every single bucket and try to solve every problem himself. And he still does sometimes. I try to pull him out of that. And now I see over the last couple, since we started from where we are now, he's like realizing what I've always realized. He's realizing what his main strengths are, which are growth, which are recruiting. And now he's mainly focused on doing what he's best at and trying to get out of that operations bucket. And we're trying to figure out who to put into that bucket right now because that still needs to be taken care of, but it's not his highest and best use. And frankly, it's not my highest and best use either. So we're both trying to figure out how to get focused on what we're best at and what we're happy doing. Because there's a lot of stuff that you have to do that you're not happy doing. We're trying to figure out how to be doing the things we're happy doing and what we're best at, and try to bring in other people to do the things that either we're not good at or we don't want to be doing or just we don't like doing.
Well, when you get down to 2 candidates for that operational position, put them on the podcast with us, and Lindsay and I will grill them.
Yeah. Are you guys volunteering for the job?
No, we'll interview them.
Well, job's yours, both of you guys, if you want it.
So was that was probably one of the biggest challenges then, is what I'm hearing is just operations, because you guys were so focused on growth. It's funny, there's two ways to go here, because I know people are watching right now that want to hear about the growth and they want to hear how you recruited together and what that looked like. But before we go there, when you are growing like crazy and you're really doing it well, all those other things, right, operationally are going to fall. So what did you guys have to do? What did that look like?
We didn't do it. We didn't do it yet.
I'll stop. Definitely not.
So
one is, morning huddle, I recommend. Another one is a weekly meeting, having a structured weekly meeting. A really good move we did is we do a weekly recap. I find most meetings are just there for information. And someone brought it to my attention, why don't we put all this on a Friday 3:00 recap? And over the weekend, you can digest it. And then Monday, we have our meeting at 12. We can talk about the first 15, 20 minutes, growth ideas, retention ideas, support ideas. And then we can go through our buckets that we have aligned for that hour of time. So that really helped us from an operations perspective. I think one of the things we do in real estate as companies is we cross pass too much, and it's hard to sometimes stay in our lanes. Corporate America has a lot of money, most of them, and they have people just specifically doing something. And then some real estate companies have too much excess people and they're not doing enough. So with us, we're trying to get in better lanes and put people in right positions to lead and to grow. But the challenge most humans, I believe, have is a communication expectation. I believe that comes with marriage. I believe it comes with work. It's operations. So just finding that people that want to be in those lanes and do that job and have basically a KPI, key performance indicator, attached to that person, so I can guide them and lead them, right? So that's what we've been doing, and we continue to get better as a growth, as a company on it. My biggest concern is when you grow, am I supporting people to the best of my ability? So for me, I'm a worrier. I'm always worrying. I'm always like worried about everybody. Like not me. I'm just worried about everybody. Like, is Noah good? Is Mark good? Is Bob good? She's like the whole company. Like someone calls me, I'm calling them back like right away. Like I just want to make sure everybody's good. Linz, you know that by working with me. Like people aren't going to call me and say, listen, I don't like working with Jeremy and Noah because they don't pay attention to me. Like, coronavirus time, I think we'll talk about that. You can tell you how much attention we put with people. But today alone, I probably talked to 26 people already today in the morning from just our brokerage. Everybody in the team has a goal of how many people they're going to talk to. So from an operation perspective, I think we've grown leaps and bounds. Do I think we can get better? Yeah, we can always get better at it.
So there are fiery agents in every brokerage, right? How do you control that? I know, like Jeremy, when I have things like it's like an immediate on the phone, like you said, and you're very good at diffusing it. But what does that look like, as a team? Like, how do you deal with high emotion and high crazy? Because we all are.
I'll give a quick comment on that. We have probably a very unique ownership group where we have 7 people that are all high level people that are very actively involved in the brokerage and are high level real estate people and well respected in the industry, and everybody gets involved. And the cool thing about that group is that because there's so many of us, we each have relationships with different people that are stronger than others, and that's how we do it. So like, for example, Lindsay, if you have a better relationship with Jeremy and you have a problem, like Jeremy's probably going to be the one that deals with you. And if I have a better relationship with Christy, I'm going to deal with Christy. So, and there are certain people that don't like Jeremy or don't like me. And then we flip flop on that. We say like, listen, Jeremy, you got to take this one. Like, I can't stand this person or they can't stand me. And that's just kind of how we do it on stuff like that. We just put whoever the best person for the job is to deal with the situation, and we just put them in place to deal with it.
I love that. It's the same concept we do on a real estate team, right? We have all different personalities so that our buyers or sellers may or may not match up with this agent or that agent, but this is at a leadership level. Love that.
And sometimes we all have to jump in, and that happens a bunch of times.
Yeah. Or sometimes no one wants to talk to them.
So, Linz, on diffusing, right? This is a subject that I think during, people ask this question a lot. Yeah. So diffusing comes down to 3 things: appreciating, affirming, and giving them options. Appreciate what they're going through. Linz, I can appreciate what you're going through right now. Like and be authentic. Like I do, like we care when you say that. Yeah. Repeat it. Right? So they know you're listening. Most human beings think that no one's listening. They just want to be heard. That's why some people shout out on Facebook, because they're not being heard at home. Or you see someone down the street and they're screaming at someone. They're just not being heard at home. Like they're not really a mean bully. They just want to be heard. Yeah. I found out the hard way, getting beat up a lot in life growing up. And I found out that many times the people wanted to fight weren't really that bad of a person. They just had a crappy home and no one paid attention to them. So they acted out to get attention. And then the last part's just giving people options. Like, I can appreciate how you feel. I hear what you're saying. What you're telling me right now is you're telling me X, Y, Z happened. I got you. I hear you. I'd feel the same way. And if I don't feel the same way, I'll tell them straight up, like, listen, I don't feel that way, but I can appreciate you feeling like, do not be fake. And then the last one is just give them options of how to think differently about it. And most times, it takes people a little bit of time to just breathe, relax. Noah does this good with me. He's more of a calm person than I am. I kind of come up and go down, come up and go down. But when diffusing stuff, I love it just because I grew up in a pharmacy business, small town. We helped everybody all the time. It's all I know. So for me, I just love diffusing and helping people. So I think it comes down to those 3 stages, Linz, and the key part is listening and not just giving your opinion right away and not listening to a person. So
I love that.
What's the toughest conversation the 2 of you have ever had to have together? Speaking of that. Have you had any tough conversations? I'm imagining in 2 years.
Yeah. We have, I mean, you call them tough conversations. We just call them conversations. Yep. But I can't think of one in particular that was like super tough. Can you, Jeremy?
Maybe passionate, maybe is a better word.
We've had plenty of those.
Yeah. I can't say we haven't. I would say the difference between the 2 of us on conversations is I'm the type of person that I have to drill down the details. And I'm going to send you an email. I'm going to have a phone call with you. And sometimes I'm going to wear you down. And it's not that I mean to wear the person down. I just need to know where I'm going with you. Like, you know, in life, I need to make sure that person's on the same page as me. I'm on the same page with them. And for me, that's how I deal with it more. Sometimes with him, he doesn't want to give me as much detail. He's on that path. And for me, he's gotten better. And I think I've gotten better, but sometimes I go off track on it. We just have to learn how to communicate with each other. I'll give you an example. I used to always want to do a daily huddle with him. Okay. And I tried changing him. And I would talk to him about things I thought we needed to talk about. He's like, yo, dude, like, talk to me later about this. Like, I don't want to talk about first thing in the morning. I'm trying to take over the world. Like, let's talk about this later. And he's not a person that wants to be set down to specific times on repeating things. For me, I'm more a repetitive person. I'm a rhythm person. Like, I need those meetings. I don't need a ton of meetings, but I need that 12 o'clock on Monday. I don't like getting hit from a curveball if someone doesn't know about something, or I don't know about something, right? So him and I listen to him because I'm pretty observant, and I just learned to adapt to his style. And I think some partnerships don't understand that, and they keep on trying to change it. Like, Noah's who he is. Jeremy's who he is. Can we both play in the same sandbox? Can I help him improve a little? Can he help me improve a little? But I'm not changing him. It's like trying to change your parent. Like, why doesn't my parent ever want to go on vacation? Dude, your dad's 70. That's my dad. He never wants to. Just leave him alone, my brother. Like, just my brother Bryson. Leave him alone. Guy doesn't want to travel. He wants to go play tennis and stay on a farm. Like, he's happy. So him and I have learned a lot better to play in the sandbox. Sometimes do we go outside that sandbox and have to have a conversation? Yeah. But he's very reasonable about it, and we talk through it. I just think that we have different communication levels. It just that works.
So how often, so knowing who our audience is listening, this is a really common denominator of she is who she is and I'm completely different, whatever, and we've got to figure out how often are you adjusting to Noah versus Noah adjusting to you?
That's a good question.
I think the Monday meetings at 12 have really helped once a week, so he knows where we're at. I know where he's at. And then the recap on Fridays are good. I do believe when we change and build a new company, when more stuff is involved, I know that I overwhelm him sometimes with me trying to be too detailed, right? And him having that clear, path and on his direction. So I think it's just kind of playing in that box that it makes sense for both of us. I think I've gotten better at it. He used to tell me, like, Jared, dude, now listen, I just sent him one yesterday, so he's probably like, dude, what you're talking about.
He is kind of laughing.
But I used to send him all the time in the office, like, Jared, you're driving everybody nuts because I have ADD. And he said, keep all your thoughts to a meeting, like keep all your thoughts the one time. So I had to start adapting the notes on my iPhone, and I try to keep the staff's, all their ideas that I have for the week to Monday, which is really hard for a personality like me. So I was really driving the staff nuts because I would just send random stuff like all night or during the day, and you get people off track. So my communication has definitely got better where I just try to keep it all, like owners meeting or staff meeting. Here's our list.
No.
So that's you're adjusting to Noah. Is that about kind of how it goes, Noah?
No, I think
Well,
I think it's more me
no.
adjusting to a lot of people because I was driving people nuts because I would
Got
shoot from the hip constantly, and no one wants that. Like no
Well,
human being wants that.
well, the thing to note about that, just like the lesson there, is that Jeremy is the leader, right? He's the CEO of the brokerage. So when he asks somebody something or says something, the thought is, well, I have to drop everything I'm doing and do that now, even though that's maybe not his intention. But that's what people think that work for him, or so forth. So that was the domino effect of him kind of spitting out his thoughts and getting them out, as people just kind of were scrambling always to go from point A to point D, and just based upon him. So that's the reason why, to keep it consolidated, because now you can not dump it as if it's a fire drill. Just give them the information, let them prioritize, how that's going to fit into everything else they have going on as well. And he can also let them know, like, here's 10 things, but like only one of these is actually a priority, or hey, do these whenever you can get to them, right? It just help people manage their schedules a little bit more.
I think for our traditional audience, that point you just made, Noah, is like gold. That is so huge, because we see that all the time on a real estate team. Rainmaker processing all their ideas, integrator, operations person, oh my God, I'm going to do them all, only to find out Rainmaker really only wanted one of the 10 things to be done.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't think about it enough, Christy. So I
Yeah.
tell people, when I build teams for people, I probably help build more teams locally than pretty much anybody else, or I would compete as a top, is leverage is number one. And within leverage is communication. And in communications, the daily huddle, it's the weekly meeting, and stop using email as your to-do task item. Like, it is just crazy. Like, you're killing people.
Yeah.
So you got to block it off and put it one spot. We use notes in our iPhone, and I have a new partner in the new biz, and I basically just have those slots right there for him and not drive him nuts. And he's an operations guy, so.
Love it.
Noah, did that just totally drive you crazy? How did you when did you know that you had to kind of stop some of that? Right away?
Yeah, right away. We talked about it. Yeah, right away.
Well, and so this is like the normal personality, I think, for most people that are working under an entrepreneur. Most of the time, it's somebody who is tagging people and everything on Facebook, and they're sending out a million emails and a million texts all night long, right? The norm is not necessarily you, Noah, although some of the big ones are you. What would you say, because I know that you're like this person that's going to stay on the path, what would you say to people that are working for people like Jeremy? Like, how do they broach that? How do they have that conversation? And how do they, help fix it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And this is not just a comment for Jeremy. This is just like how I try to approach everybody to manage my time. So this is not directed towards Jeremy, but like some of the little things that I do are, if I'm communicating with people regularly and I send them a lot of emails, I say, like, don't respond back with okay or thank you or got it or anything like that, because that just doubles the amount of emails I have to go through. So I ask people in a nice way, like, please don't do that. I ask people not to copy me in on stuff that I don't need to be copied in on, because again, like, I just spent half my day just like deleting or ignoring stuff. And I asked not to be invited to meetings where I don't need to say anything and there's no action items for me. Right. So I asked to stop going to those things. So like, those are like, you sound like a jerk when you say, like, I don't want to come to this meeting, or stop copying me in on emails, or, like, it sounds like you don't care, but that's not the truth. Like, I think a lot of times, people get rewarded in society for saying yes to things. And, it's looked down on when you say no to things, when I think, like, the reality is, like, it's better to say no to things so you can say yes to the things that are more important. And, Jeremy and I have talked about this a lot, and, we both have gotten better at that. And, people think, sometimes I'll say for myself, they think I'm a jerk because I'll say, like, I'm not coming to this meeting, or I don't need to do this. But like, it's only because I am focused on high level, like, going in the path that I want to go on. And I really try not to get sidetracked with all this other stuff that to me is not the most important thing for me to focus on.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about that a ton of times. So I was really hoping to have that come out. Just even the fact that you ask people to not, reply with the okay or whatever, like, I love that. And that was a huge aha for me a while ago when I heard you say that.
I think the reason why, let me just chime in on that, Noah, that you're able to do that is because you have intense clarity about what's important for you. And I think what we see is when people don't have that intense clarity about what their dominoes are, they get into the weeds of everything else because they're not focused.
Yeah, I'm good about not getting into the weeds, sometimes to my detriment, but I am good at not getting into the weeds.
Love it.
We created a note system for that that's based upon personal and business, and one side's growth and one side's another side, and just basically trying to focus on those for the day and weed that list down to very small things. Like, what's the 3 things that I can make the most impact today on? Can I have one in each bucket? Instead of having this long laundry list of a whole bunch of things to do. Have you ever noticed your day that has the least amount of like things, you make a bigger impact? You know, you ever look at a list that's really, really long, you leave the day and you're like, what I get done? So from an operations perspective, I always tell people the worst thing you can do is have a long list. Most human beings can't achieve more than 5 big things in a day. Like, how small can you get that list, right? You say 3, that's what I think. I think 3 major rocks. Like for me today, it's like 2 loans, like is one of the major things. Another thing at the brokerage, and I have another thing. Now I'll work all day. I have a lot of stuff on the plate, but I got to make sure I get those 3 things done or I miss the boat.
Yeah, love it. Well, let's dive into recruiting. So you guys, that is like what I feel like you guys are known for, and you have done such an amazing job. You know, what does it look like to bring in the big guys, you know, like a Mike McCann? How long does that take you? What does that process look like? How did you guys do this?
So this is something very similar on. No, you can go first, but.
Well, I'll kind of take you back to the beginning. Like when we started this brokerage, Brian Walters was the team leader, CEO before Jeremy, and Brian's still involved as a general manager. But when we started this brokerage, we say, listen, we're going to focus on one main thing, and that's going to be about growth. And we're going to go out and we're going to recruit. We're going to basically, well, before that, I guess let's take a step back. Number one, we had to create an environment that we could actually recruit to. So the thing is, like we said, and you can see the background of my my picture here for anybody that can see the video, like that's our office. And when we designed the office, I said, number one, I want to have an office that I want to come to every day. I'm a pretty casual guy. So I wanted to be able to be casual in the office, not have to wear a suit and tie if I didn't want to. We allow dogs in the office. We have kegs in the office. It's a really cool office and a fun place to work. We have music going all the time. You can feel the energy. But the way we designed the office was around this theory around collaboration, because everything in our office, all the conference rooms are all geared around the center. The coffee bar is positioned in a certain spot. The bathrooms are positioned in a certain spot. The 4th floor overlooks the 3rd floor. So no matter where you go in our building, you have to cross paths with somebody else. And when you do that, naturally, you're going to start a conversation with somebody and you're going to form a relationship with them. And when you have a relationship in the work environment, you feel more appreciated. So that takes care of the retention piece of things. And when you feel more appreciated, you're happier. And then when you work harder, when you're happier, and then when you work harder, you make more money. And when you make more money, you're happier. And then it kind of all spirals. So we wanted to create a place where people can collaborate with one another and bring in all the top agents, all the most professional agents in Philadelphia, all under one roof, that all shared the same vision and concept that we had around wanting to make each other better. Because a lot of times people in the real estate industry look at each other as competition. And, we look up and we say, we're not actually competition, we're colleagues, because most of the time we're working together on a deal. I'm bringing a buyer to your listing, you're bringing a buyer to my listing, we're working together. So why not do what we can to make each other better? Because on deals that you do with other people that are professional, they go way smoother and they're much more fun to do. So we built the brokerage around that concept, around collaboration and wanting to have the most professional agents in Philadelphia. So when somebody got an offer from KW Philly, they're like, man, these are the most professional agents. I want to do a deal with them. And we do that by having the best training, the best education, the best environment, and a place where people can have their best work-life balance and their highest productivity. And that's how we geared the brokerage. And that's the value that we tried to create when we brought people in to our brokerage. So like we set that up appropriately in the beginning, or the first whatever year. That was the goal of doing that. And in order to achieve that, we had to bring in some top people, because other agents want to be around top people that are willing to share everything they do and lead training classes and be there as a resource, right? Because that helps make them better. It's the people we surround ourselves with. So that's what we did. We just went out of the gate strong and talked to people about exactly what I just said to you right now. And, you know, other high level people were like, yeah, I would love that. I would love to be a part of a brokerage that does that. And, you know, we told people about what our vision is, and people wanted to be a part of that. And little by little, I mean, quickly, but little by little, people came in and wanting to be a part of that. And, you know, when they saw certain people came in, you know, the other people wanted to join, like, what's going on over there at KW Philly? I want to see what's happening. And then, you know, our office is pretty cool. Like, once you come in, you can't unsee what you've seen once you've been in there, been to one of our training events, or, you know, been to one of our happy hours. Like, most brokerages don't do what we do. They don't bring in the high level speakers that we do. They don't provide the value that we do. So that alone takes care of some of the recruiting. And it's about relationships. You know, if you get into relationships with enough people and they want to talk to you and they respect what you're doing, they want to be a part of that, or at least want to hear what you have going on. So, and I will say, you know, it helped back when we started the brokerage. I was doing a lot of deals. And so I was on the ground, and a lot of people like knew me. So it was easy for somebody to take a phone call from me, right? Which I know is a challenge to a lot of people. Like, if, you know, they don't know you, they're not picking up the phone, right? Which is, again, one of the reasons why, you know, why it's easy. Like, Jeremy's great at what he does, but it's easy because people know him. Like, when he calls, they want to talk. Whereas if it's just a random person calling you, no matter how good they are, they may not even pick up the phone. So same thing when Mike McCann calls, and Jim Onesi and David Snyder, like, all the people in our group, when they call one of these agents, like, people are picking up the phone for them. So that is like a competitive advantage that I would say that, like, you can't duplicate that unless you have that in your location. So that was part of the reason why we were successful. But we really just focused on bringing in good people, good partners that shared the same vision, and we just made growth our main focus and continue to provide value. So Jeremy, you can add to that.
So culture and collaboration, we'll keep it very simple. C&C, I believe in life, if you have a great culture at home, you're gonna be a great person. You have a great culture at work, you can do that. The problem is most human beings don't understand how to build it. Noah knows how to build it. I know how to build it. I built it before at another company. It wasn't there before. Same location office, same company, and it turned around drastically in the country in production. Why? I changed the culture. When you change a culture, different people want to come in. So it could be from when you walk in the front door, do you have music? 2, do you want to get a picture in front of the front sign of the office? Like, is it cool? Do you want to be in that picture? 3rd, where do you get your coffee or drinks and anything like that? Is that an area you want to talk to other people? Most offices, they don't want to talk to people. They call it water cooler talk, and it's in a back room, and it's in a dungy area, and it's probably something they don't want to talk to. The areas that we put it's where you want to talk to people. The lounge space, is it welcoming? When the guests come in, do the guests say, wow, and talk to their agent about, hey, this is a really cool place, and they want to know more. And then that agent feels good. It's like when someone walks in your house and you're having a housewarming party, they say, listen, I love your hardwood floors. You feel good. You know what I mean? And so we make the agent feel good. The client feels good. We feel good. And then I can get on a laundry list of things, but one of the things I want to bring up on culture and collaboration is where you put people is very key. So Noah and I talk about, like, when we build out spaces and building out new places, I've looked up the site Culture Guys. Unfortunately, someone wants too much money for it and build out spaces. Like, if you ask me if there's another business, I would love to build out more real estate brokerages, like spaces for them. You know, maybe we'll buy the buildings and build it out for them. They can run them from us if anybody's watching. But that being said, I love where you put people in a space is very critical. So I've been leading for 9 years brokerages. And one of the things I am proud about, I don't recall, and I could be wrong, so I don't want to say 100%. I don't think anybody's really came back to me ever and said, I want to move. So you got to really figure out who's your neighbor and what's their strengths, what their weaknesses. So when someone says to me, Jeremy, I want to sit here. All right, Linz, I can appreciate that. Let me think about it. Tell me what you like to do, how like you come in, what you're good at, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll think about it, and I'll probably put her in somewhere that will complement her. So she comes in all the time. I'm putting her with a person who doesn't come in as much and has a good business, and say Lindsay's really good at new construction. This person's really good at center of influence and do a lot of events. I'm putting those two together. One's gonna get better than the other, and they're both gonna start growing. So I think like that part of the collaboration culture, a lot of people overlook, If you know you met a good culture people when they're connectors. Go to a party and watch a person host a party. And I throw some appreciation events, and my wife basically builds her business off this. I said appreciation event or a good party is you walking in and I'm introducing Linzee to Christy. I'm part of your conversation for 3 minutes. You really don't want to listen to me. And I'm connecting 2 doctors. I'm connecting 2 real estate investors. Boom, I'm on the next. I'm connecting. And we don't have an ego. We don't want our name on anything. We want to build a culture and collaboration for anybody else. Too many businesses try to put their name on it that feel important, that they're building this next generational thing. That was years ago. Like that's gone, done, family business name for 120 years. Today, it's about culture and collaboration, not having your name on it and building it for someone else. So there's always little small, intricate things that him and I are constantly looking at in business to build. And people are like, why is he doing that? They don't even have a clue. But it's because of the culture and collaboration.
I love that. So you basically gone E to P on how to create synergy, and then the synergy builds on itself with, I would imagine coming out of COVID, that you guys could potentially hit a new explosion of growth in your office because people are craving relationship and collaboration the way they never have before.
Well, we always said that we're building this brokerage so when the market turns, we're in the best position to take even more market share. We started saying that 2 years ago. And, now that the market has turned, we feel like we are the best place for people to come and take their business to the next level, help their business survive, because we've always had those business conversations with people. It wasn't just about like, how do you sell more houses? It was about how do you run your business like a business? How do you think about wealth building? How do you run a profitable business? Just trying to have different conversations than what they're used to. It's not just like, how do you work with buyers? How do you work with sellers? Like that's a small piece of a bigger pie. And by training people to think differently like business people, when situations like this come about, it's just another obstacle in their way that they have to figure out how to navigate around. It's not just like throw your hands up in the air like, all right, well, let's just wait 6 months until COVID is over. No, we're going to figure out how to operate with this obstacle in our way. And yes, it's going to be different. And yes, it's going to be painful. And yes, we have to change our entire business model around to some degree. But that's the way we set it up, to be able to pivot and move the business when things change, because, obviously what's going on now is so different than anything we've ever been through. But how, it's just like a lot of things in business, like anything you do, marketing related or whatever, that's a good idea. You get 6 to 9 months out of it before you have to totally shift courses, and things don't always just work forever. So obviously this is so different in reality, but it's just another obstacle that we have to figure out how to navigate around and how to change our business model to fit with what's going on right now. And it will change again in a couple months, and then a couple months after that. And that's okay. It's just part of the business.
You guys think that,
Go ahead.
Christy. I was going to say, do you think that, so, I know culture was a big piece to like bringing more people in. Do you think that you could have brought somebody in who didn't have, like the fact that people know you, Noah, and the fact that people knew Jeremy, like, is that a big deal with recruiting? Do you think that really matters? Or could we have brought somebody in that's talented that is from Texas?
I think the answer to your question is yes, we could have brought somebody in from Texas. It would have been harder. Let's just say that person had the same skill level as Jeremy, right? It would have been harder for that person because they wouldn't have the ability for somebody to take their calls or have the door already open. Like getting your foot in the door is the hardest part, really. Once you have your foot in the door, if you're good, the rest is like pretty easy. But getting your foot in the door is the hardest part, getting people to take your calls or wanting to talk to you.
And how is it easy? Because I want to make sure with the couple of minutes that we have left, what does that look like for you guys? Because that's what people really want to know is like, what is the, conversation? How do we move somebody into being in business with us?
Okay, I'll give a quick answer and Jeremy will give his. I talked in detail about this before, is figuring out how you can create the value for people, a place where people want to work and have a bunch of different things to offer people, right? I say this all the time, like people come to KW Philly for so many different reasons. Sometimes it's because of the people that are here, like that, they want to be surrounded by the best agents in Philadelphia. Sometimes it's because they have friends. Sometimes it's because we have a cool office or because we have kegs or because we're close to their house, or because we have good music. Like, everybody has a different reason. It's up to us to determine where the needs are in their business, where they're having pain in their business, or where they could use the most help in their business, and then figure out what tools we have in our arsenal and our tool belt as part of the brokerage to be able to provide that value to them to help them achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. So it's really just figuring out how to be a matchmaker between those two things. And if we can clearly, get them from point A to point B and help them see the path clearly, then the rest kind of works itself out. And to be honest with you, we can't always figure it out. We're not always the best choice for everybody, but a lot of times we are, but we're not always the best choice. And we will let people know if we don't think that we can help them out with what they're trying to achieve. We've said that a number of times.
Love it.
So for me, it's most people focus on the wrong thing, Lindsay. They focus on buying people. Human beings don't want to get bought. When you're listing a house, they don't want to be bought. They want a connection, and they want you to understand what they want in life. When they want to sell their house, how much, why is it important to them to sell a house? What happens if they don't sell their house? Buyers, same thing in a different fashion on the buying side. What do you want? How do you get there? What's your why? It's one of my favorite books, Simon Sinek, Start With Why. What do you want? How do you get there? What's your why? My job is to bridge the gap. They're in Philly right now. They're in the main line. They're in Bluebell. They want to get over the Ben Franklin or the Walt Whitman Bridge, and they want a shore house on the water. Everybody tells me they want the shore house on the water. They just don't know how to get $1 million to buy the shore house. My job is to help build people's businesses. So when I talk to people, I don't talk that much about Keller. I talk to them about building a business. How can I help you make $100,000 passive income is my one goal. And my other goal is how to make $250,000 or more in a year. Okay. For some people, it's $1 million. Some people, it's $2 million. But like the threshold is 250 and 100 grand. Noah and I are very proud. Last year, we had 125 people make 100 grand. And one of the things we did is brought in a bookkeeping service. Noah's like, I love to see everybody in a profit and loss statement every month. And one of my goals is, can we get 100 people making 100 grand passive income? Because at the end of the day, when we all die, the income we make is not paying for our retirement. If you really look at it, I built something during coronavirus time I'm very proud of. It literally can build a person's business out in real estate investing, and also building their business and building teams. I can show you exactly how much money you can make off building teams, how much can you make off flipping, how much off rentals, how much in income. Only 10 or 15% of a person's income when they're dead or they're retiring is actually coming from selling real estate. So most brokerages focus on, hey, I can do this for your business. Alan Daum says it's better. You make real estate, you do real estate and make a living, you build your wealth owning it, right? So Noah and I have had this experience that we can talk to people firsthand, and everyone's with us. We're helping them build wealth. We're helping them change their lives. I'm not here just to help a person build a real estate life. I'm helping build much bigger than that, right? So I look at how can I connect that? I'm a matchmaking, set. I need to get them from here to here. Like if Lindsay tells me she has this challenge right now, I'm trying to figure this out. She doesn't come to me and say, hey, Jeremy, I have this challenge. Like most times I have to help her discover this challenge, right? So when I talk to people, I just got on the phone the other day, literally I'm going to help him by figuring out he needs assistant, Lindsay, and he needs this, and boom, he'll work with us. Everybody else has been just cutting them checks. That's not fixing. It's called a Band-Aid. So that's what I think our superpower is on recruiting wise. And he's very good at it too. Yeah. Don't buy people, give them solutions. I don't care if you sell real estate, what you do, that's what people want.
Love it.
I love it.
Well, and then, so just as a follow-up to that, and then we'll bring this out, how many meetings, what does it look like to land the big fish? So you got somebody who's been ingrained in a business like Mike McCann was for years. What did that really look like? Was it years of talking?
No, it wasn't. Well, yeah, it was years of relationship, right? Yeah. So Mike, obviously we've known each other for, 12 years at least. So it was years of relationship. Then it was, again, the willingness for him to take a phone call and to have a conversation and to, be open to that. And it was many conversations with Mike, and it was conversations with his wife and with Jim Onesti and with his kids. And it was a lot of that, because there's, to move a business like that. I mean, if his business was its own brokerage, he would be one of the top 5 brokerages in Philadelphia. So, there's most brokerages are not as big as his team. So it's a monumental task to move a business like that when you've been with the same company for 30 years. So, we always commend him for even being open to move a business like that. But Mike is, he thinks into the future. He's thinking about the next 30 years, and he's thinking about the next generation. And he felt that Keller Williams was the best place for the rest of his career, and for the best for his partners and his kids and his team and all that stuff. And again, we just same conversation, but obviously on a different level. Like, what are you looking to do? Can Keller Williams solve for that? Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we are so thankful for your time today and just the knowledge. I mean, there's so many good things that came out of that.
Wait, I have one final question.
Yeah, go.
Noah, what did you learn by competing to be man of the year for $5?
Oh.
Wow. I learned that I cannot compete with Stephen Cooley and the rest of those guys. Man, I thought this was a fun competition with some low-level budget, but man, they had some crazy videographers and budgets, and they were very good. But that was fun, and I learned that it's good to have a little fun every once in a while and not take yourself so seriously. And we enjoyed doing that. I made some good friends along the way. Actually, got to know people a lot better.
I was one of the judges behind the scenes, so I had to ask.
Oh, you were?
You guys were amazing.
Oh, how did he not win? That rap song was amazing.
I was really upset about that.
I thought he crushed everybody on that. Everybody else was messing up. I was like,
that was all of Philly was like, yeah.
I literally was bragging, taking bets he was going to win.
I was waiting for him to come in costume today, not you, Jeremy.
That's funny.
I'll dress up. He can do the rapping or the dancing.
I know. Well, thank you again. We know how valuable your time is, and so we're super appreciative that you came on here. You brought so much knowledge. So if people want to get in touch with you, how can they reach out?
You can just call us at KW Philly or KW Main Line. I'll just give my cell phone, 215-370-9107, or just look up Jeremy Bowers or Noah Ostroff online right now.
Yep.
And if you want to get in touch with me, just call Jeremy's cell and ask how to get in touch with me.
If never going to him, it's coming right to me. Love it.
All right.
Thank you guys so much,
guys.
Later, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.